skill level, personality type, and even your investing area can change what types of real estate investing you should be going after. So I get asked a lot about wholesaling versus fix and flips versus BRRRR, but today I really want to dive in and help you understand which types of deals you should be going after. Should you start with wholesaling or fix and flips? That's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be covering a few things, the pros and cons of wholesaling and fix and flips. We're going to jump into how to decide which strategy is going to be the very best for you. So let's just break it down from the beginning. What is wholesaling? Well, wholesaling is putting a property under contract, selling that contract to somebody else for a fee. That's what it is, and you make a fee. Now, each state will have different regulations and laws, and so there's a few ways you can actually do wholesaling. There's the assignment, where you get it under contract and you assign the property over to somebody else. They take your place as the buyer and give you some money with that. There's the simultaneous closing, where I buy, my person buys it from me, I buy it from the person I'm going to be buying it from, and we all do that at the same time, and those funds are used. And then there's the closing and resale, where I actually have to buy it and close, and then I resell it to somebody else. Now, these are things you're going to have to decide by state, so it's not something that I can go over in detail here, because you're going to want to look into that, what the regulations are. Okay, now what is a fix and flip? Well, fix and flip is you're buying the property, you're improving the property, where you're adding to it, you're making it better, not adding square footage, but making it more valuable by the things you're doing. And then you're reselling that for a profit or refinancing that to then get some cash flow, like a BRRRR type of a deal. So let's just jump into this. What are some pros of wholesaling, some cons of wholesaling? Well, wholesaling gives you a quick payday. Usually from the time you find the deal, you'll have cash in a few weeks or less. That's a huge thing. The other thing with wholesaling is you don't need a lot of money to get started. It's all about finding the properties. In assignments, you don't have to qualify for a loan. If you're able to do the assignment strategy, you don't have to qualify for a loan. If you are gonna do the double closings, or you're gonna buy it and then resell it, you would. Even hard money lenders want to make sure that you don't have collections, judgments, foreclosures, and background problems. Background like wanted by the FBI, those types of things. So those are things, even hard money lenders, like a hard money lender is going to look at those things regardless. So just be prepared for that. And so an assignment may be the best way for you to go. The other thing with this is there's low risk. You only buy the property if you have somebody that's going to buy it from you. So typically you don't have to get the loan, which is one of the things, and they're going to buy it at the same time you're buying it. And so if they don't buy it, you don't have a lot to lose. Let's talk about some of the cons to wholesaling. Okay. We find an even better deal. So your end buyer needs to make money and you need to make money. So you have to find an even better deal than if you're just fix and flipping. Let me explain this. If you're going to go do a fix and flip and you wanted to make $20,000, then you'd say, hey, I want to make $20,000. I'm going to do this fix and flip. Well, the new buyer that's buying it from you wants to make $20,000 and you want to make something on top of that. So maybe you want to make $10,000. Well, guess what? It's got to be $10,000 better of a deal than what you'd be willing to fix and flip that property for, which means you have to find an even better deal. And I find this to be one of the big misconceptions with wholesaling is like, if it's not a good enough deal for me to fix and flip, then I'll just wholesale it. Well, if it's not a good enough deal for you to fix and flip, it's not going to be a good enough deal for you to wholesale. Now, maybe the problem in the fix and flip is that you need to come up with more money than you have. Well, in that case, it might be working out to be a good deal to wholesale, but you've got to find an even better deal because there's got to be meat on the bone for you and for the end investor, regardless if they're cash flowing it, renting it, fix and flipping it. Those are things they're going to be looking for. So you have to find a good deal. And you also have to find a good cash buyer. So you have to do both of these, where when you're doing a rehab, you typically list it on the MLS, and all the agents in the world, I shouldn't say the world, but all the agents in your area are actually going out there trying to find you a buyer because it's listed on the multiple listing. With this, you have to find a good deal with enough meat on the bone, and you have to find a good cash buyer that's actually going to close. So there's more work to get started with this. Now, hopefully you will be able to use that cash buyer again and again, but you've got to market both to sellers and to motivated buyers, cash buyers. So motivated sellers and cash buyers, you've got to be going after both of these in part of your marketing plan. Now, I want to give you guys a pro tip. This is a super pro tip. A lot of people don't know about this. This is called reverse wholesaling, okay? So rather than going and finding a property, you start by finding cash buyers in the area that you're investing. Now we can do that because we can say who purchased a property in this zip code for cash in the last 12 months. That's something we can do on Investor's Edge very easily. Now, you can do this by building a list of homes that they purchased in the area. You can skip trace them and you can talk to them, or you can mail to them. When you talk to them, which is what I recommend, you'll talk to them eventually, but I'd call them. And then if I don't reach them, then I send them a letter saying, hey, we need to talk. But what I want to do is go to them and say, what's your shopping list? What do you like? What do you like? What don't you like? And what do you want to invest in? If I found that property, would you buy it? How much would you be willing to pay for that property? Then go after sellers to find what you possibly can at the lowest price that they are willing to pay the end buyer. So basically, let's say you called me and you're like, hey, Ryan, I saw that you've been a cash buyer on a property. What are you looking for? I'm like, well, my sweet spot where I like to be, I like 4 beds and 2 baths. And I like to have a covered garage, a 2-car garage or carport. And I like to be in good neighborhoods, not amazing neighborhoods, not crappy neighborhoods, but I like to be in good neighborhoods, so kind of like B quality. Now I could get more detail if you knew my area of what I was actually looking for. And they're gonna say, well, how much are you willing to pay for that? And I'm gonna say, I'm willing to pay $300, maybe $350 for something like that. And if it doesn't have the 4 beds, I'm willing to finish the basement and put in another bathroom. I'm willing to do that type of stuff as well. If that is going to improve the value. So if it's 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom now, that's fine as long as there's room for me to add 2 more bedrooms and 1 more bathroom, right? So that's what you're doing. You're talking to these cash buyers, you're getting a relationship with them saying, hey, what do you want? And then you go find what they want, okay? Then you go find what they want. All right, now showing the property is another concern when it comes to wholesaling, because you put the property under contract, but you want to sell that contract or sell that property to somebody else. So those people need to come in and take a look at the property. So once you get it under contract, you have to get your cash buyers into the property. You don't want to have the seller there when you're doing this. So one of the things a lot of people will do is open house times, where they'll have 2 different times, like one in the afternoon, maybe one on a weekend, and the sellers goes away. You have them go to the movies or give them some money. You keep it open for an hour or 2 and you let all of your cash buyers know. In addition to that, you can video the entire thing so they have a really good feel for what it's looking like. Local laws, everybody looks at wholesaling differently. So is there a real estate license required? Can you assign the contract? Those are questions that are going to depend on the local state that you're actually in. Do you need to close, or can you just do the assignment? Those are all things you've got to look into as on a state-by-state basis. You'll need to determine how to properly do that based upon your laws. Now let's jump into some advertising costs. You have to find a really good deal, a really, really good deal. And you have to find good buyers. So you're gonna have to do something to attract both of those, talk to them, and then find a way to make it work. Now, let's jump into some of the pros as we're talking about fix and flips. One of the big pros with fix and flips is there are big paydays, okay? Average profit is around $35,000. Typically, they make more than a wholesaler, but not always. You can actually buy from a wholesaler rather than have to go find the property yourself. Some big wins. Let's talk about some of the cons to fix and flips. Additional cash may be needed. Your hard money lender may want more money down. You may have to pay for things like problems that happen on the property, sewer line goes bad, or the roof starts having an issue that you didn't know about. I will tell you, if you inspect the property correctly, there should be very little that comes as a surprise. You should be able to rule out the majority of those things, including the sewer, because you can send a camera down there and take a look if there's problems so you know it before you're even buying it. You'll have to get a loan. If you're doing a hard money, or if you're doing fix flip, you're gonna have to get a loan, and there are some qualifications to loans. Even if it's a hard money lender, they wanna see credit checks, they wanna see collections and judgments. Make sure they don't wanna see collections and judgments. They also wanna make sure you haven't recently been foreclosed on, or if you have been foreclosed, they want to know the story and the situation around it. Now, longer to get a payday compared to wholesale. You have to go through construction process. You have to project manage it. You have to resell the property. And that can get difficult at times. When you're doing a fix and flip, you have to take care of your project. You have to be over your contractor. So the first thing you've got to do is put your scope of work together. Then you've got to be doing at least weekly inspections. And then you could do quality inspections while you're doing those weeklies to make sure that the paint's done right and things are looking good. The worst thing you want to do is go in and see a problem and not say anything. You want to walk and be like, that's a problem, we need to fix it, because the cheapest time to fix it is now. The longer you wait, the more expensive it will be to fix it. The other thing that happens a lot in construction is what's called cost overruns, changes in materials costs, or unknown repairs that you weren't planning on. Those things can come up. You also have your holding costs, which are property taxes, utilities, gas, electric, water, sewer, garbage, interest on the loan, and hazard insurance. All those things are things that are holding costs. Each day you have it, you're paying more for these things for the privilege of owning that home, as well as landscape and snow removal that's going to happen. That grass is going to grow and the snow is going to fall. The other thing you have as a con with fix and flips is market changes. The market can go up, it can go down, it can do that while you're in the middle of rehab or you are trying to sell the property. Now, let's jump into a quick recap of what we're saying here. Wholesaling. You have to find a really, really good deal, and you need to make money, and the fix and flipper needs to make money as well, or the investor needs to make money as well. So you've got to find an even better deal. This can take time and cost and marketing money because you've got to find both buyers and sellers. That's the big thing that we're talking about here, and you may not need to get a loan. Now with fix and flips, you can buy from a wholesaler. You have to manage the scope of repairs. There are market changes that can actually occur. There could be unknown repairs, but again, the better that inspection, the less of those you will have. And there could be a higher profit for fix and flip. Not always, but there can be a higher profit for fix and flip. So the question is how to decide, right? That's really what we said, is how do we decide? Well, I think the first thing is look at the pros and cons and determine which is the easiest for you to get started. Which one is going to be the simple and easiest for you to get started, and start there. Now, just because you start with one doesn't mean you have to be married to it and do that forever, but start with something that will work and you learn as you go through the process.